All right, another episode of How Did I Get in This Room? Super excited about this one because although our guest today is not a household name, he has got some amazing stories and he is connected to some of the biggest names in music. Margot, tell the folks, who do we have?
Here we go. Today we have Donn Bennett, one of the biggest collectors of drums in the world.
Vintage drums, other things.
All sorts of things. And a dear friend of my brand, Transparent Sunglasses. Donn was such a killer interview.
It was great.
Gosh.
And one of the first ones we did. So you're kind of seeing this out of order. But I think the amazing thing about him is, incredibly humble. He is
humble.
He has been in so many rooms with so many incredible artists.
More rooms than you've been in.
More rooms than I've been in.
I mean, I just can't even imagine.
Obviously, you know the name of our little show, How Did I Get in This Room? So anyway, he was very, very generous with his time, talked forever, told a million stories. So it was really hard cutting it down to this.
Yeah.
You know, he's based in Seattle.
Cutting it down, Donn, was difficult. I know you'll be watching this. There were so many cool sound bites. The people, the musicians that he's worked with, the friends that he rubs elbows with.
So we picked one kind of famous guy that he's been in contact with.
Small name.
You wanna tell everybody?
Okay, I'm gonna try and cue it up.
Here you go.
Okay,
say it.
I'm giving clues. I'm wringing my hair.
Well, people know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Ringo Starr.
Of
That's my drum roll.
The Beatles.
Of the Beatles.
Yeah,
Gosh, the story there was so cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. So Donn was a drummer, kind of playing gigs in his earlier life. Mm-hmm. Then he owned a music store, and then now no longer owns the music store. It is now Donn's Drum Vault.
Yeah. Drum Vault. Mm-hmm.
And basically it's an online collection of all this incredible stuff that he owns. People,
and many musicians come to him to, customize or, help them if they've got something special they're looking for on tour.
And Donn probably has it. So he's kind of become this go-to guy for drummers, everywhere, and people that want other stuff. He's got all sorts of crazy, I'm going to use a big word, ephemera.
Okay, and without further ado, because don't use weird words like that.
Oh, did you set a timer?
It's a timer.
You're a lunatic. Go get your phone, ladies and gentlemen. Donn Bennett.
Donn Bennett.
I'm not sure if. If you found out that is one of my absolute favorite songs. If you found out that T-Rex is a band I'm nuts about, or you found out that T-Rex was the second concert I ever went into in my life, and that's where actually my drum collecting career began. I'm not sure which item that you discovered, but good research.
Look, all weekend I spent researching you, Donn, and I've got so many notes here.
Stalking.
I'm a
but see now you get to call it research.
It's research. Yeah. On the Donn Bennett, 2 N's, 4 N's, 2 T's.
Yeah. I'm gonna pull this shut.
So your backdrop is cooler than ours. I'm gonna say Ruben loses on his backdrop. That is another.
I am fortunate to have this sitting directly across from my desk in my office. And, anytime I want to complain about being too busy or stuff being too nuts, that reminds me how fortunate I am to be in this business and the amazing people I get to deal with and just the amazing things that happen to me literally every day. So anytime I want to start whining, that is a great reminder to me.
That is pretty well for the people that might just be listening and not watching. What are we looking at? Can you describe that in two emoticons? I'm just kidding. Just describe it in words.
Emoticon. That is like so out of my vocabulary list. I wouldn't even start to imagine what that means. So this is a Ludwig. It's a 1964 Ludwig Black Oyster Pearl drum set. So that is the exact model that Ringo Starr from the Beatles used. And in the vintage drum collector world, that is probably the most sought after item out there. There are, I mean, I've got Ringo to thank, honestly, for having a career, because that is the item that I actually started my career looking for, trying to find one of these. And in the process, I've had dozens of them and met dozens of people. Anyway, so this drum set was not Ringo's set. That one sold recently for $2.2 million.
Wow.
But what it is 100% identical to Ringo's Black Oyster drum set. And when you start getting into the collecting world, when you have all the geeky little details that all match up to make it exactly the same, then that makes it extra special. There's probably, maybe 10 drum sets like that are known to exist in the world. There's lots of Black Oyster drum sets, but to have every particular detail all exactly match up, that is a very rare thing. Oh yeah, and
it's autographed.
And then Ringo signed that for me, which makes it like, you talk about, as a kid, I would have dreamed to have anything to do with a Beatle ever. And, now, Ringo has been a customer of mine for, I don't know, many, well, that was 1998. So since 1998, and it just goes on. So that is one of them. That's also one of the items that people always ask me, is there something you would never sell? Mm-hmm. And this particular drum head would be one of those items. That's there's very few anymore, because I don't really feel attached to this stuff as like I used to. I get more of a kick out of passing it on. That's really the thrill for me, finding the next person for it. But that's one that is not going anywhere, that drum head.
Well,
Donn, I'm gonna jump in. Yeah, I'm gonna jump in.
And so you're Ruben.
I'm Ruben, Donn. It's nice.
This is
very nice to meet you.
This is my lesser half.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. I could tell.
Yeah, I'm the sidekick. So you came on screen. My eyes were drawn to the Beatles kit and Ringo's signature, and I immediately heard the opening drum lick to Tomorrow Never Knows.
Ah, yes.
Which is so amazing. And, when the Beatles documentary came out, what was it, last year, I think, and everybody was glued to Apple watching 4 hours of the Peter Jackson masterpiece. I think that, there's been a renaissance, and maybe you tell me how you feel about it. There's been this Ringo renaissance, because for many, many years, the fact that he was like McCartney, Harrison, Lennon got all the accolades for writing the songs and doing all of this. I think Ringo's drumming didn't get the due.
Oh, absolutely.
That most recently, it feels like a lot of people have really gone back, and man, the engine that drove that band, just the swing, just the creative riffs.
No, absolutely. And that conversation has really been going on for years. And you're right. You have the obvious talents of John Lennon, Paul McCartney. And, you know, a drummer's role, just by definition, practically, is a supportive role. But even then, you know, a lot of drummers take the opportunity to stretch out and they get the opportunity to do a bunch of flashy stuff that gets a lot of attention. That just wasn't the role of Ringo in the Beatles. You know, those songs didn't require that. They didn't ask for it. They didn't require it. And so, you know, Ringo's drumming is, you know, fundamentally very simple, but people who know have always recognized that it's brilliant. You know, there is an entire generation of drummers who, yeah, and actually it would probably span like 2 generations of drummers who were deeply inspired by Ringo, like that have that exact same story. He's the reason they started playing the drums.
Yeah.
And so we're talking about millions of people, right? Mm-hmm. And so for me to have, you know, the opportunity many times to have been able to tell him that myself and realize what a significant opportunity that is, you know, there's something inherently human about wanting to thank the people who helped you get to where you are. Yeah, so I know how important that is.
Well, and
you know what? And just to be really clear, because I never like to exaggerate my relationships. You know, I've known Ringo for a long time, and we do. You know, I've just had the pleasure of. I couldn't tell you how many times I've met him and got to interact with him and done stuff with him. You know, we're not close buddies. I don't, you know, he doesn't call me up and I don't call him up. So yeah, I just never like to exaggerate my relationship. You know, to say we're close buddies, that would be, I would love nothing more, but the time will come. I am also keenly aware of how fortunate I am that I can wake up every day with a very real expectation that something awesome will happen today. And honestly, more often than not, it does. I mean, it's just like, I'll just pick up the phone and it's like, yikes, oh my gosh, who is this? But yeah, that happens over and over. You mentioned they are ultimately just friends. I think it's really been one of the most fascinating things about meeting so many of the amazing people I have is that ultimately, you know, they're just a guy or a woman or a person just like everybody else, and they have the same issues and struggles and think the same kinds of things are funny as everybody else. And yeah, it's great.
With so many instances of you working with being friends with, rubbing elbows with some of the most highly respected musicians out there, is there a moment that stood out to you where you're kicking it backstage with buddies, or you're talking to, you know, a fellow musician that wants to purchase a drum set from you, and you think to yourself, how did I get in this room?
Wow. You know, that's really fun you asked that, because I've got to choose which one, because that has happened. I couldn't tell you how many times where I'm going, oh my God, I'm standing here with fill in the blanks. Wow. Okay. Here's probably the most interesting one. I went to New York. This is probably, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. I went to New York I had been working with Elvin Jones's wife, his widow, after he passed, he had a large collection of drums, and she asked me to help her sell them. And that collection, actually, the people I met through that just kind of made my career snowball. Anyway, she was in New York. I went back to New York to do one part of this transaction. And my friend, who is Ringo's tech, Jeff Chonas, who's also been monumentally pivotal in my life and career, he said, if you're going back to New York, we're going to be there with Ringo on whatever date. Why don't you, we were doing Good Morning America and the Letterman Show. Okay. Why don't you, if you're going to be in town, come on by and we'll just make it like you're part of the crew. And so, long story, I am at the Ed Sullivan Theater, okay, where they filmed Letterman. And that's also where, the Beatles had their first performance in the United States. And that was the place where Beatlemania was hatched. Okay. And he said, actually, we actually do have a job for you. So you can actually not just pretend to be part of the crew. There is on Letterman, I don't know if you remember watching Letterman, but behind David's desk, there was like a screen, and it was like a New York skyline on this screen. Well, what that screen is if there was a musical artist, the musical artist would be set up behind that screen. And during the break, they would roll that screen away, and then the band is on a rolling stage, and that stage would get pushed up to the front. So he said, you can help us push the stage up. It's like, great. I mean, I was dying to have anything, to be part of this in any way. So on that show, there were only two guests, Ringo and Bill Clinton. Okay. So, so how was it? We were all in the green room, Ringo's whole band. And I had the break was on. I had just gone up to help move the stage, and I was heading back to the the green room is like a staging room to go out on the stage. It's like you walk out the door from the green room and you're on the stage at Letterman. But you have to go through that to go back to the waiting area where we're. Bill Clinton was meanwhile the guest who Letterman was talking to, and there's a Secret Service guy there, and he said, just hold it. You're going to have to wait here. Nobody can be moving back and forth when the president comes through. And so it's like, that's fine. So I'm sitting there and so I'm sitting in this little room, which is probably bigger than, I don't know, 8 by 10, pretty small for, Ringo's whole band. So I'm sitting there and I realize, well, if we're waiting for Bill Clinton to come through here, he's going to come right through that door. So when he finished his interview with Letterman, through the door walks Bill Clinton. And I'm literally standing. Bill Clinton is right here, and Ringo Starr is right here. Wow. And that is exactly what was going through my head at the time. It's like, how did I manage to be standing in the green room at the Ed Sullivan Theater on the set of the David Letterman Show, on the location where the Beatles launched Beatlemania, standing here with Ringo a Beatle and Bill Clinton a president? So
that's wild.
There is my long-winded answer to your question.
So the thing that I love is not only does he have a million stories, and again, we had to cut it down to fit the show. I love his obsession with music and drumming, and he had some great life. He's very philosophical too.
Very philosophical. I love he's very thoughtful in how he speaks, how he presents himself, how he presents his friendships.
Yeah, he wakes up every day expecting something amazing to happen.
I love that. I love that we kept that
I want to do that.
I knew people would be inspired. Everybody, hopefully anyone listening, is inspired by hearing Donn's words, that he doesn't know what to expect from his day.
Right.
But he knows that something incredible will happen. And gosh, is your life that way?
No. No. Disaster. No, disaster. Right.
The weather.
It doesn't matter. It was I wake up some days and there's just a storm cloud following me around. I love that. I love the fact, and you had a funny response. We had to cut it out though. He says he never, because we were asking him about, Ringo Starr calls you on the phone. You've known him and God only, and the list of people goes on, and I'm looking at my notes. I apologize. He says he never likes to exaggerate his relationships.
Okay, I shouldn't be laughing. I don't want to cut off more time. But yes, I don't.
Your answer was?
Well, I felt like I couldn't empathize with that comment because I love to exaggerate my relationships and friendships.
Yes.
And then what it led me to say, I'm best friends with Blake Shelton. So Blake, I hope you're watching this, and we are besties. And back me up on that.
Explain your connection there, because there's no context.
Okay, well, Amanda, his PA and TM, will be coming on our show next week, and
TM is tour manager, folks.
Acronyms, it's like BFF. We're besties.
Yeah, because she's just going to start talking in binary code in a minute.
Yes, so I do like to exaggerate and say that I'm best friends with Blake Shelton, because I am, and it's via Amanda.
So literally, I was at the Super Bowl in 2019. The Super Bowl was over, and I was doing a Facebook Live, walking outside because we wanted content. And I had literally just walked out of the stadium, and there was like this little area. It's not even like a little road. It's like a sidewalk, and there were dividers.
It's not a red carpet?
It's not a red carpet. The Super Bowl was over, and here comes this golf cart. You know those golf carts that'll have like 4 rows? They use the rodeo? And it's not going very fast, but it's coming right at me, and I'm going this way. And Jennifer Lopez, who had performed, is sitting in the second with her entourage, and she's got her jacket on, and she goes right by, and I wave, and she waves.
Oh,
so that was
name dropping?
That was my encounter with Jennifer Lopez. But if that was you would be like, I met Jennifer Lopez at the Super Bowl, man, and let me just tell you, she's wonderful. I know her. She's great.
I love that you're saying this for you. First of all, if you are besties, BFFs, it's J-Lo. It's not Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah, tour's not doing great.
And I do love J-Lo because she does wear transparent, and we gifted her about 2 years ago a pair of sunglasses,
and she wore the shades.
She
fantastic. I love it. Anyway, Donn Bennett was amazing, and I really loved having him. And once again, Margot scored the interview. We're very excited about that. So when he was, in case you guys don't know, when he was talking about going to be part of this estate sale for Elvin Jones, one of the greatest jazz drummers, most well known for being part of John Coltrane's band. And yeah, man, you just, for jazz fans, you say Elvin Jones and it's like, one of the really big ones. There's the drummer theme again. That seems to run through everything you and I have done since we have met involves a drummer. And I don't know why, but you guys are going to see a lot more of this stuff.
Well, it's because they always say that drummers get the best view. I go back to that every time.
Do they get the best view? I mean, you see the audience.
Because they get to see the audience. They're watching them. They have the premium show.
Yeah.
They're watching everybody on stage. And
I could say a lot of things, and I'm not gonna.
No. This is
all right. Look, all right. Listen, we're getting close. We're getting close to the end, guys. How did I get in this room? Go to the Instagram, like it, share it, do all of that, push all the buttons. Next week, another episode. We're gonna have somebody really cool for you. We don't know who that is right now, but thank you for being. We won't. Thank you for being with us. We're out of here. Peace.